Good morning. Good morning. The time is now 7:33 a.m. Central Standard Time. That is Texas time. It's Friday morning. It is June 19th, 2020. It is Friday, and in celebration of Friday, I'm going to read my Bible because that's what I do every day for the year 2020. Yes. And if you don't know, I've been reading it in 3 different places. I've been reading it on my main channel, 40 Entrepreneur Drive, which I decided to only start to host business and entrepreneurship related material. I started hosting my Bible readings on Boulevard 40, which is my new channel. You can check that out. And now I'm here on Facebook. So for you people watching me on Facebook, welcome to the live. If you would prefer to watch this or would like to watch it again as a replay, you can go to YouTube and watch the upload at Boulevard 40. That's BLVD 4040. So there we go. Vern Dorsey pops in and says, "Hey, good morning. Hey." So yeah, that's where I've been since the all year. I've been at my main channel, my second channel, and now I'm here rocking out with the Bible every day. Every day. This is the Bible that I use. This is the New Believer's Bible Compact Version for Steps for New Christians. It is the New Living Translation. That's what that looks like. New Living Translation, New Believer's Bible. This is my handy dandy dictionary that I use from time to time. Nelson's Compact Series Bible Dictionary. An illustrated, easy-to-use, compact resource with over 5,500 entries. Learn about Bible people from Aaron to Zophar. Locate places from Armageddon to Zion. Explain ideas, concepts, terms, and doctrines. Includes interesting and entertaining historical details about Bible history, characters, and settings. Ideal for all Bible students and a must for every Bible owner. Used with the NKJV, that's the New King James Version, NCV, I don't know what that is, KJV, which is King James Version, and NIV, which is the New International Version, and other popular translations. So that's what I use there. And this is the study guide that I use. Looks just like this. This is the cover. I got a digital download. You can get a digital download or you can get a physical copy. It is a woman's guide to reading the Bible in a year. A life-changing journey into the heart of God by Diane Stortz. That's what I'm using. And this is what it looks like. And if you get the Kindle version, you'll get your table of contents and all that stuff digitally enhanced with these little arrows that you can just tab all the way through, because this is how we do. You know what to do. Oh, I think I went too far. We're in week 25. Yes. Week 25 is talking about disobedience, decline, and disaster. And in case you didn't know, the disobedience part is talking about the different kings that are going on in First Kings, because that's what I'm reading. All these kings are not obeying God and keeping up these different pagan idols. We got Asherah poles, we got different altars, we got golden calves. So that's the disobedience part. The decline is the Israelites keep going into decline and keep experiencing disaster, all due to this disobedience. So yeah, hit this link like so, and it will bring me to the main page talking about what's going on this week, which is disobedience, decline, and disaster. I'll do a quick recap of this particular part of the guide. It says the Israelites' idol worship and unwillingness to repent led God to punish and discipline his people as he warned. Samaria, the capital of the northern kingdom, fell to the Assyrians in 722 BC after a 3-year siege, and most of the people of Israel went as captives to Assyria. More than a century later, after Babylon had conquered the Assyrians, the southern kingdom ended in 586 BC when Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the capital city of Jerusalem. Some of Judah's citizens had been taken to Babylon earlier. Most of the Jews remaining now joined them as captives. Their exile in Babylon would last 70 years. Second Kings records these sad events along with the chaos and decline that preceded them. Reading this book can feel like a roller coaster ride gone bad, as God's prophets call the kings and people back to God, but few listen or respond. Despite Judah's fall, God would remain true to his promise to the line of David. King Jehoiakim, imprisoned in Babylon before Jerusalem fell, was released from prison after 37 years. This kindness extended to Jehoiakim's end 2 Kings on a note of hope. If you look in the gold rectangular box, you will see the word read and you will see the word checkpoints. Read is what I'm reading. Monday I read 1 through 3, all the way down till today, which is 15 through 17. Tomorrow I'm going to read 18 through 21, and I'm going to finish up Kings between chapters 22 and 25. If you look over where it says checkpoint, 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 those are different checkpoints that we've covered. Some pretty significant things that have happened, such as a chariot of fire, which was Elijah getting taken away into heaven, 7 dips in the Jordan, which was Naaman, one of the captains that came to Elisha and asked to be healed of his leprosy, and he was told to dip himself, bathe himself, douse himself, jump into the Jordan River 7 times. We had a floating axe head, which was one of the miracles that Elisha performed. It was an axe head, an iron axe head that had fell into the water, into the river, but was able to come back to the surface. A feast for wild dogs is what happened to Jezebel. Jezebel was thrown from her window by her eunuchs at the call of Gu. I've been calling him Jehu, but it's Gu. And yeah, the dogs ate her up. Gu trampled over her body with his horse, and there was nothing left but her hands, her feet, and her head. All those beautiful things that us women like to take care of, getting our pedicures and manicures and getting our hair done. That was the only thing left. Okay, the last checkpoint is a lost and found book. A lost and found book. So don't know when we're going to cover that. That one might be today, it might be tomorrow, it might be Sunday. We shall see, shan't we? All right. So that's what I'm using. There we go. And now it's recap time. And thanks to everybody who's able to join me today as I'm checking back in on Facebook. Oh, I see Mr. Thompson here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the Bible reading party, where we are reading and picking up at 2 Kings. 2 Kings, what did I say it was going to be? If yesterday was 11, 12, 13, and 14, today must be 15, 16, and 17. And let me just verify that with my guide. Yes, 15, 16, and 17 is what I'm going to be reading today. And again, if you want to catch this on the replay, you can go to this channel right here. This is the channel that I will be hosting my live streams as soon as I get that privilege restored. But until then, you can find all of the uploads after the fact. So I'm doing it live here on Facebook. I think I've explained it a couple times. I've explained it a couple times why I'm here instead of over at YouTube. But until I can live stream there, I'll be coming to you live every morning here. And you can find all of the Bible reading parties here at Boulevard 40, which is my YouTube channel right there. So yeah, that's the last screen share that I wanted to do. I forgot about that part. Forgot to share that with you guys. Yeah, this is the recap time. This is the part where I catch us all up in case some of you fell asleep, or if you weren't here, or if you just a little bit hazy, you're like, what do we talk about? Huh? What? I'll tell you what we talked about. We talked about, in chapter 11, we talked about Chronicles. No, I'm not in Chronicles. I'm in Second Kings. It always amuses me when I like go to the right chapter in the wrong book and I'm like, that's not what happened yesterday. This is what happened yesterday. We had Queen Athaliah. Queen Athaliah rules in Judah. I think that's the first time that there's a female ruler, right? Yeah, I think I said that yesterday too. So in chapter 11, Queen Athaliah ruled in Judah. There was a revolt against Athaliah because she was pretty hardcore. Once she got to the throne, she says, oh, yeah, by the way, all the rest of the royal family, off with their heads. And I mean, she was killing folks left and right. And the only person who survived that was in the royal line to be crowned was little baby boy. What was his name? Little baby boy. Joash, Joash, Joash. Little baby Joey will save his little nurse somehow, some way, hid him away, and he survived for the next 6 years. And at the age of 7, he was crowned king. She was not, and when I say she, I mean Nathalia, was not happy about that. So yeah, she killed everybody except for this little baby boy Joash, who was hidden away. There was a revolt against her, and then there was the death of Athaliah. Jehoiada's religious reforms also happened in chapter 11. In chapter 12, Joash, who was still probably quite a young boy at this time, repairs the temple. Now, here's the funny thing, not haha funny, but interesting funny. So, Joash, what's the word I'm looking for? He made it so that money could be available. He got money together for repairs for the temple. And as you remember from the book of Leviticus and some of those earlier books, the Levites are the holy priests that's their only job. They only had one job. You know the meme, right? They only had one job, right? So the Levites had one job, and that was to take care of the temple and all those temple responsibilities, the altars and blessing the people, helping the people cleanse themselves of sins, and repairing and maintenance of the temple. So Joash made it so that these funds could be available, but years and years and years later, he's noticing, yeah, this place looks the same. I'm not pointing the finger, but the repairs were not getting done, so the priests were using the money for themselves. So at some point, Joash made it so that the construction workers who were going to do these repairs, he made it so that the money went straight to them. And yeah, that was just interesting. I thought that was interesting that you're giving money to the priest so they can repair the temple and they don't do that. Yeah. At the end of Joash's reign, it was a sad end. He was saved as a baby, but he did end up getting assassinated in the end. And you can read the book of the history of the kings of Judah, which I'm fresh out of my copy, but if you can find one, you can find out all about him and those other southern kings. And then there's also that book that I mentioned from time to time, the book of the history of the kings of Israel. So you can find out about all those northern kings as well. In chapter 13, we talked about Jehoahaz rules in Israel and Elisha's final prophecy. Elisha's final prophecy. And let's see, somebody came to him. There was a war. Are we going to win the war? Take out an arrow, shoot it through the window. Pew! Yes, you're going to have victory. Okay, take the rest of those bows out of your, what is that thing called? It's not a case. I know the word, it's just not coming to me. Take the rest of those bows out and hit them on the ground. And so Aram, was it Aram? No, Jehoash. Some of these names sound very familiar, but they're not the same. Jehoash, Jehoash, not Joash. Joash is Joash, and Jehoash is Jehoash. Sounds similar, but it's a different person. So King Jehoash took those bows and arrows and chop, 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 chop 3 times on the ground. Elisha said, 3 times? You should have hit it at least 6 or 7 times on the ground. Well, you're going to win the battle, but not completely. And he died. That was funny. That's what happened in verse 18. Nope, that's what happened in verse 19. But the man of God was angry with him. You should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times. Then you would have beaten Aram until it was entirely destroyed. Now you will be victorious only 3 times. Then Elisha died and was buried. And so that was pretty much what happened yesterday. That Athaliah, that Queen Athaliah, she just left a bad taste in my mouth. Chapter 14 starts now. Amaziah. So many similar names. So many. Why? Okay. Amaziah rules in Judah. So we're back in the south, y'all. South side. Amaziah, son of Joash, began to rule over Judah in the 2nd year of the reign of King Jehoash of Israel. So we got Joash in the south, Jehoash in the north. Got Israel, got Judah. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother was Jehoaddin from Jerusalem. Amaziah did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, but not like his ancestors. You know what? I'm reading 14 from yesterday. You guys should have already heard this. Yeah. 14 was yesterday. I read 4 chapters yesterday, not 3. So Amaziah rules in Judah was already covered. Jeroboam II rules in Israel was already covered. Let's move on to chapter 15, shall we? Uzziah. Yeah, Uzziah. I bet I'm saying that wrong. Let me get my dictionary. Because yesterday I called Jehu's name improperly for the longest, and it's not Jehu, it's G-U. 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 I'm mispronouncing a lot of these names. One of my aunts who watched me, she was very impressed. She says, you go through all those names just so well, you don't stutter or stumble. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm pronouncing them properly. So let's see. I'm calling him Uzziah, and it says in this dictionary his name is Uzziah. Yeah, that sounds better. Uzziah. Okay. Uzziah, his name means the Lord is my strength. The son of Amaziah and Jecoliah, 9th king of Judah and father of Jotham. He's also called Azariah. Uzziah, that sounds so much better. Uzziah ascended the throne at age 16 and reigned longer than any previous king of Judah or Israel, 52 years. He probably co-reigned with his father and had his sons Jotham and his co-regent during his final years as a leper. A wise, pious, and powerful king, he extended Judah's territory and brought the nation to a time of great prosperity. In the south, he maintained control over Edom and rebuilt port facilities at Elath on the Gulf of Aqaba. To the west, he warred against the Philistines, seizing several cities. He also apparently defeated and subdued the Ammonites. The foolishness of Uzziah's father, Amaziah, in fighting Joash, the king of Israel, had left the city of Jerusalem in a vulnerable position. So Uzziah focused his attention on securing the defenses of both his capital and his country. He reinforced the towers of the city gates. On these towers and walls, he placed huge catapults capable of shooting arrows and hurling stones at the enemy. He also maintained a well-equipped army and fortified strategic places in the desert. Uzziah's successes were directly related to his spiritual sensitivity because he sought the Lord through a prophet who encouraged him to honor and obey God. However, Uzziah's heart was lifted up in pride. No longer satisfied to be a mortal king, he desired to be like some of his contemporaries, a divine king. He entered the temple to burn incense. When Azariah the high priest and 80 associates confronted him, he responded in anger instead of repentance. God judged him by striking him with leprosy. Uzziah was forced to live the rest of his life in a separate place with his son Jotham probably acting as king. At Uzziah's death, the prophet Isaiah had a transforming vision of the Lord high and lifted up on the throne. Wow, so that's like a preview before we even jump into chapter 15. I just wanted to know how to pronounce his name. But now I'm not going to mispronounce it as I'm reading it along. So that's Uzziah. I used to do that when I was in the military. When I could not pronounce a soldier's name, I would just call them the alphabet. That might work. That might work. And good morning to Kiana Nicole, who says, "Good morning, 40 fam. Hey, hey, hey. You're right in time because I'm just about to start chapter 15. All right. So Uzziah rules in Judah. Of course, we already got the spoiler alert. Uzziah's son of Amaziah, or Uzziah's son, of Amaziah, began to rule over Judah in the 27th year of the reign of King Jeroboam II of Israel. So you got to pay attention. Whenever a new king is taking position in the north, they're going to say at what point the king in the south was, reigning. Whenever they're talking about a king in the south is taking the throne, they're talking about it in terms of at what point this person was reigning. So it's always going to be comparing. Just want to throw that out in case people were not aware of that. So we're talking about Uzziah of Israel, but it's being compared to, no, excuse me, we're talking about Uzziah of Judah in the south, and they're comparing him to the time frame that somebody else is ruling in the north. So still in chapter 15, verse 1, Uzziah, son of Amaziah, began to rule over Judah in the south in the 27th year of the reign of King Jeroboam II of Israel in the north. He was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 52 years. His mother, Jecoliah, was Jecoliah from Jerusalem. He did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, just as his father Amaziah had done. But he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and burned incense there. You guys notice a pattern, right? Because, like, for the last couple of days, that's what I've been saying. They were either doing evil in the Lord's sight with the idols, or they did well in the Lord's sight, but they still kept the idols. Something about these idols, they just cannot let them go. The Lord struck the king with leprosy. Oh wow, that was pretty quick. So verse 4, he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offer sacrifices and burn incense there. In verse 5, the Lord struck the king with leprosy, which lasted until the day he died. He lived in isolation in a separate house. The king's son, Jotham, was put in charge of the royal palace, and he governed the people of the land. The rest of the events in Uzziah's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. When Uzziah died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David, and his son Jotham became the next king. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing on Jotham, but I'm hoping that I'm at least pronouncing his name properly. Hij. We went through a lot of Jothams yesterday. A lot of Jothams. I read like 2 or 3. Jordan, Joseph, Joshua, Josiah, Jotham. Yeah, Jotham. Good old Joe. And his name means the Lord is perfect. The Lord is perfect. That's what his name means. Verse 8, Zechariah rules in Israel. Zechariah, son of Jeroboam II, began to rule over Israel in the north in the 38th year of King Uzziah's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 6 months. Zechariah did what was evil in the Lord's sight, as his ancestors had done. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had led Israel to commit. Then Shalem, I'm not even going to look that one up. Shalem, son of Jabesh, conspired against Zechariah, assassinated him in public, and became the next king. Gee whiz. The rest of the events in Zechariah's reign are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. So the Lord's message to Jehu, not Jehu, but Jehu, came true. Your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the 4th generation. Verse 13, Shalom. I should probably look that up. Shalom rules in Israel. Hijk, let's see. Shibboleth, Shiloh, sheep, Shadrach, Shalom. Yeah, that's right. Shalom. And his name means the requited one or the requited one. Requited. That means to give back to, right? Because unrequited love means you love somebody but they don't love you back. So requited must mean they do give it back to you. I'm just making an assumption. Verse 13, Shallum, son of Jabesh, began to rule over Israel in the 39th year of King Uzziah's reign in Judah. Shallum reigned in Samaria only 1 month. Wow, that's like the shortest one ever. Yesterday, somebody ruled for only a year. I don't remember who that was, but they ruled for only a year. This guy, he's only in charge for a month. Shallum reigned in Samaria only 1 month. Then Menahem, son of Gadi, went to Samaria from Tirzah and assassinated him, and he became the next king. Okay, the rest of the events in Shallum's reign, including his conspiracy, are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Verse 16, Menahem rules in Israel. I got a bad feeling about this guy. I don't know. At that time, Menahem destroyed the town of Tapua and all the surrounding countryside as far as Tirzah because its citizens refused to surrender the town. He killed the entire population and ripped open the pregnant woman. See, I just had a bad feeling. I just had a bad feeling. Menahem, son of Gadi, began to rule over Israel in the 39th year of King Uzziah's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 10 years, but Menahem did what was evil in the Lord's sight. During his entire reign, he refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had led Israel to commit. Then King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria, there's got to be another way to say this. There's a star by this name. You guys notice I haven't checked in the postscript in like a while. I used to look in the postscript all the time, but this person has a name, has a star by their name. So I'm going to look down here and check out chapter 15, verse 19 to see what's going on here. Hebrew, Pul, another name for Tiglath-Pileser or Pileser. Part B, Hebrew, 1,000 talents. Okay. So something about that name has a Hebrew origin. Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria invaded the land. This is verse 19. But Menahem paid him 37 tons of silver to gain his support and tightening his grip on royal power. Menahem extorted the money from the rich of Israel, demanding that each of them pay 50 pieces of silver to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria turned from attacking Israel and did not stay in the land. The rest of the events in Menahem's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. When Menahem died, his son Pekahiah became the next king. Pekahiah rules in Israel. Verse 23. Pekahiah, son of Menahem, began to rule over Israel in the 50th year of King Uzziah's reign in Judah. But I don't think Uzziah was really reigning because didn't he have leprosy? So he was like off in the distance somewhere. I think it was really his son kind of like co-reigning for him. If you want to correct me on that, make sure you let me know in the live chat or in the comments section over at Boulevard 40 where this re-upload will be available. Let's check out Pekahiah, Pek, P-E-T, that's Peter, that's Persia, that's Pentecost. Can't go wrong with a Bible dictionary. Pekahiah. I was close. Pekahiah. Pekahiah means the Lord has opened the eyes. The Lord has opened the eyes. Okay. Pekahiah. Pekahiah did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had led Israel to commit. Let me back up, because I did not say that he reigned in Samaria 2 years. He reigned for 2 years. Then Pekah, son of Remaliah, the commander of Pekahiah's army, conspired against him. With 50 men from Gilead, Pekah assassinated the king, Pekahiah, along with Argob and Arieh, in the citadel of the palace at Samaria. And Pekah reigned in his place. The rest of the events in Pekahiah's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Pekah, I'm going to call him Pekah. Pekah. Pekah rules in Israel. Verse 27. Pekah, son of Remaliah, began to rule over Israel in the 52nd year of King Uzziah's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 20 years, but Pekah did what was evil in the Lord's sight. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had led Israel to commit. During Pekah's reign, King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria attacked Israel again and captured the towns of Ijon, Abel-Beth-Maacah, Janoah, Kadesh, and Hazor. He also conquered the regions of Gilead, Galilee, and all of Naphtali, and he took the people to Assyria as captives. Then Hoshea, son of Elah, conspired against Pekah and assassinated him. He began to rule over Israel in the 20th year of Jotham, son of Uzziah. The rest of the events in Pekah's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. Next up, Jotham. Jotham rules in Judah, verse 32. Jotham, son of Uzziah, began to rule over Judah in the 2nd year of King Pekah's reign in Israel. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. His mother was Jerusha, the daughter of Zadok. Jotham did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight. He did everything his father Uzziah had done. But he did not destroy the pagan shrines, and the people still offered sacrifices and burnt incense there. He rebuilt the upper gate of the temple of the Lord. The rest of the events in Jotham's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of kings of Judah. In those days, the Lord began to send King Rezin of Aram and King Pekah of Israel to attack Judah. When Jotham died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David, and his son Ahaz became the next king. I feel like I read too much or I read too little. No, I'm right on time. I'm right on time. That was only 15. I'm doing 15, 16, and 17. There was a lot going on there. I feel like I read over the amount that I was supposed to be reading. Man, we had Uzziah, Zechariah, Shalom, Menahem, Pekahiah, Pekah, Jotham. Man, I'm surprised there are not more like reenactments and sitcoms and series or something like that, movies made out of just the Book of Kings. Second Kings, at least, not too much was going on. At least not as much was going on in First King. Well, I take that back. Solomon had 1,000 wives, well, 700 wives and 300 concubines. We had the Queen of Sheba. Man, just out of the Book of Kings, which really is one long book cut in half. The Book of Kings could make Netflix some money. Let me stop. Okay, we're going on to chapter 18. Let me get back to my live chat, which is not as easy to check as YouTube. What a great fort they had. Mr. Thompson says, I will catch up with you later, Kenya. Time to get breakfast for my kids. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day, everyone. All right. Yay. Brought a smile to my face. I love all my regulars. I do. I love my regulars. But when someone else comes in, it makes me feel like I'm still discoverable. I'm still discoverable. Yeah. Whether I have one person in here or many, I'm always going to read my Bible because that's the resolution that I made for myself. But it feels good when there's a few people in here, It feels good when all my friends are in here. So yeah, anyways, I'm happy that he was able to join. Let's see, let's move on to chapter 18, talking about Hezekiah. The only Hezekiah I've ever known was the gospel singer or gospel choir director. I guess he's a singer. But anyways, Hezekiah Walker is the only Hezekiah I've ever known. So now I'm going to learn about the real Hezekiah, or at least the original. Hezekiah Walker is pretty real too. Hezekiah rules in Judah, chapter 18. Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, began to rule over Judah in the 3rd year of King Hoshea's reign in Israel. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother was Abijah. the daughter of Zechariah. He did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight. Is that the same Zechariah? I feel like I missed something. I did miss something. Yeah, I did miss something. Somehow my page must have turned because I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember that part. You guys, it's one of those days. It is one of those days. I'm reading 15, 16, and 17. I read 15, now I'm in 16. Yeah. Somehow I jumped ahead one page. Ahaz rules in Judah. That's where we're at. See, if I had more people reading along with their Bibles, you guys could keep me in check like, That's not what my Bible says. Chapter 16, you guys. Chapter 16. Ahaz rules in Judah. Ahaz, son of Jotham, began to rule over Judah in the 17th year of King Pekah's reign in Israel. Ahaz was 20 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. He did not do what was pleasing in the sight of the Lord his God, as his ancestor David had done. Instead, he followed the example of the kings of Israel, even sacrificing his own son in the fire. And I'm thinking they're probably talking about that pagan shrine Molech. Remember we brought that up and I showed you guys pictures Molech. It was like a giant statue sitting down and we had the people playing the drums and playing the horns. Not because it was a festive affair and they wanted music. It was to cover up the sounds of live babies being burned to death. So yeah, when they said sacrificing his own son in the fire, I'm thinking that's Molech, but I'm going to actually look at the postscript because there's a little star here. There is a star right here in chapter 16, right at the end of verse 3. It says, or even making his son pass through the fire. Making his son pass through the fire. That's how it might be translated in another text. Instead, he followed the example of the kings of Israel, even making his son pass through the fire, or sacrificing his own son to the fire. In this way, he followed the detestable practices of the pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of Israel. He offered sacrifices and burned incense at the pagan shrines and on the hills and under every green tree. Verse 5, then King Rezin of Aram and King Pekah of Israel came up to attack Jerusalem. They besieged Ahaz but could not conquer him. At that time, the king of Edom recovered the town of Elath for Edom. He drove out the people of Judah and sent Edomites to live there as they do to this day. King Ahaz sent messengers to King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria with this message. I am your servant and your vassal. Come up and rescue me from the attacking armies of Aram and Israel. Then Ahaz took the silver and gold from the temple of the Lord and the palace treasury and sent it to payment to the Assyrian king. So the king of Assyria attacked the Aramean capital of Damascus and led its population away as captives, resettling them in Kir. He also killed King Rezin. King Ahaz then went to Damascus to meet with King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria. While he was there, he took special note of the altar. Then he sent a model of the altar to Uriah the priest, along with its design in full detail. Uriah followed the king's instruction and built an altar just like it, and it was ready before the king returned from Damascus. When the king returned, he inspected the altar and made offerings on it. He presented a burnt offering and a grain offering. He poured out a liquid offering and he sprinkled the blood of the peace offerings on the altar. Then King Ahaz removed the old bronze altar from its place in front of the Lord's temple between the entrance and the new altar and placed it on the north side of the new altar. He told Uriah the priest, use the new altar for the morning sacrifices of burnt offering, the evening grain offering, the king's burnt offering and grain offering, and the burnt offerings of all the people, as well as their grain offerings and liquid offerings. Sprinkle the blood from all the burnt offerings and sacrifices on the new altar. The bronze altar will be for my personal use only." Uriah the priest did just as King Ahaz commanded. Then the king removed the side panels and basins from the portable water carts. He also removed the great bronze basin called the sea from the backs of the bronze oxen and placed it on the stone pavement. In deference to the king of Assyria, he also removed the canopy that had been constructed inside the palace for use on the Sabbath day, as well as the king's outer entrance to the temple of the Lord. The rest of the events in Ahaz's reign and everything he did are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah. When Ahaz died, he was buried with his ancestors in the city of David. Then his son Hezekiah became the next king. I don't know if he was supposed to be doing all that. What do you guys think? Taking apart, this is the temple that wise King Solomon built. Remember, I had the images up of the ivory and gold throne and all the special care that he brought. The cypress, was it cypress and another type of wood from Lebanon to build the temple, and he did these gigantic basins with the oxen and all the different things with the water. I mean, that was a lot of effort. Why did this guy do all this to take all this apart? I don't know. Moving on to chapter 17, Hoshea rules in Israel. Hoshea, son of Elah, began to rule over in Israel in the 12th year of King Ahaz's reign in Judah. He reigned in Samaria 9 years. He did what was evil in the Lord's sight, but not to the same extent as the kings of Israel who ruled before him. King Shalmaneser of Assyria attacked King Hoshea, so Hoshea was forced to pay heavy tribute to Assyria. But Hoshea stopped paying the annual tribute and conspired against the king of Assyria by asking King So of Egypt to help him shake free of Assyria's power. When the king of Assyria discovered this treachery, he seized Hoshea and put him in prison. And in verse 5, Samaria falls to Assyria. Then the king of Assyria invaded the entire land, and for 3 years he besieged the city of Samaria. Finally, in the 9th year of King Hoshea's reign, Samaria fell, and the people of Israel were exiled to Assyria. They were settled in colonies in Halah along the banks of the Habor river in Gozan and in the cities of Medes. This disaster came upon the people of Israel because they worshipped other gods. They sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them safely out of Egypt and had rescued them from the power of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. They had followed the practices of the pagan nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of them, as well as the practices the king of Israel had introduced. The people of Israel had also secretly done many things that were not pleasing to the Lord their God. They built pagan shrines for themselves in all their towns, from the smallest outpost to the largest walled city. They set up sacred pillars and Asherah poles at the top of every hill and under every green tree. They offered sacrifices on the hilltops, just like the nations the Lord had driven from the land ahead of them. So the people of Israel had done many evil things, arousing the Lord's anger. Yes, they worshipped idols, despite the Lord's specific and repeated warnings. Again and again, the Lord had sent his prophets and seers to warn both Israel and Judah. Turn from your evil ways. Obey my commands and decrees, the entire law that I commanded your ancestors to obey and that I gave you through my servants the prophets. But the Israelites would not listen. They were as stubborn as their ancestors who had refused to believe in their Lord their God. They rejected his decrees and the covenant he had made with their ancestors, and they despised all his warnings. They worshipped worthless idols, so they became worthless themselves. They followed the examples of the nations around them, disobeying the Lord's command not to imitate them. They rejected all the commands of the Lord their God and made 2 calves from metal. They set up Asherah poles and worshipped Baal and all the forces of heaven. They even sacrificed their own sons and daughters in the fire. They consulted fortune tellers and practiced sorcery and sold themselves to evil, arousing the Lord's anger. Because the Lord was very angry with Israel, he swept them away from his presence. Only the tribe of Judah remained in the land. But even the people of Judah refused to obey the commands of the Lord their God, for they followed the evil practices that Israel had introduced. The Lord rejected all the descendants of Israel. He punished them by handing them over to their attackers until he had banished Israel from his presence. For when the Lord tore Israel away from the kingdom of David, they chose Jeroboam, son of Nebat, as their king. But Jeroboam drew Israel away from following the Lord and made them commit a great sin. And the people of Israel persisted in all the evil ways of Jeroboam. They did not turn away from these sins until the Lord finally swept them away from his presence. So just as all the prophets had warned, so Israel was exiled from their land to Assyria, where they remain to this day. And in verse 24, we've got foreigners. Foreigners settle in Israel. The king of Assyria transported groups of people from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, and Sepharvaim, and resettled them in the towns of Samaria, replacing the people of Israel. They took possession of Samaria and lived in its towns. But since these foreign settlers did not worship the Lord when they first arrived, the Lord sent lions among them, which killed some of them. So a message was sent to the king of Assyria. The people you have sent to live in the towns of Samaria do not know the religious customs of the God of the land. He has sent lions among them to destroy them because they have not worshipped him correctly. The king of Assyria then commanded, "Send one of the exiled priests back to Samaria. Let him live there and teach the new residents the religious customs of the God of the land." So one of the priests who had been exiled from Samaria returned to Bethel and taught the new residents how to worship the Lord. But these various groups of foreigners also continued to worship their own gods. In town after town where they lived, they placed their idols at the pagan shrines that the people of Samaria had built. Those from Babylon worshipped idols of their god Succoth, Benoth. Those from Cutha worshipped their god Nergal, and those from Hamath worshipped Ashima. The Avites worshipped their gods Nebaz and Tartak, and the people from Sepharvaim even burned their own children as sacrifices to their gods Adramelech and Anamelech. These new residents worshiped the Lord, but they also appointed from among themselves all sorts of people as priests to offer sacrifices at their places of worship. And though they worshiped the Lord, they continued to follow their own gods according to the religious customs of the nations from which they came. And this is still going on today. They continue to follow their former practices instead of truly worshiping the Lord and obeying the decrees, regulations, instructions, and commands he gave the descendants of Jacob, whose name he changed to Israel. For the Lord had made a covenant with the descendants of Jacob and commanded them, "Do not worship any other gods or bow before them or serve them or offer sacrifices to them. But worship only the Lord who brought you out of Egypt with great strength and a powerful arm. Bow down to him alone and offer sacrifices only to him. Be careful at all times to obey the decrees, regulations, instructions, and commands that he wrote for you. You must not worship other gods. Do not forget the covenant I made with you, and do not worship other gods. You must worship only the Lord your God. He is the one who will rescue you from all your enemies." In verse 40, but the people would not listen and continued to follow their former practices. So while these new residents worship the Lord, they also worship their idols, and to this day their descendants do the same. And in the final chapter of 18, we got Hezekiah rules in Judah. Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, began to rule over Judah in the 3rd year of King Hoshea's reign in Israel. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother was Abijah, the daughter of Zechariah. He did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight, just as his ancestor David had done. He removed the pagan shrines, smashed the sacred pillars, and cut down the Asherah poles. He broke up the bronze serpent that Moses had made because the people of Israel had been offering sacrifices to it. The bronze serpent was called Nehushtan. Hezekiah trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel. There was none like him among all the kings of Judah, either before or after his time. He remained faithful to the Lord in everything, and he carefully obeyed all the commands the Lord had given Moses. So the Lord was with him, and Hezekiah was successful in everything he did. He revolted against the king of Assyria and refused to pay him tribute. He also conquered the Philistines as far distant as Gaza and its territory, from their smallest outpost to their largest walled city. During the 4th year of Hezekiah's reign, which was the 7th year of King Hoshea's reign in Israel, King Shalmaneser of Assyria attacked the city of Samaria and began a siege against it. 3 years later, during the 6th year of King Hezekiah's reign, and the 9th year of King Hoshea's reign in Israel, Samaria fell. At that time, the king of Assyria exiled the Israelites to Assyria and placed them in colonies in Halah, along the banks of the Habor River in Gozan, and in the cities of Medes, for they refused to listen to the Lord their God and obey him. Instead, they violated his covenant, all the laws that Moses, the Lord's servant, had commanded them to obey. In verse 13, Assyria invades Judah. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah's reign, King Sennacherib of Assyria came to attack the fortified towns of Judah and conquered them. King Hezekiah sent this message to the king of Assyria at Lachish: I have done wrong. I will pay whatever tribute money you demand if you will only withdraw. The king of Assyria then demanded a new settlement of more than 11 tons, silver tons, and 1 ton of gold. To gather this amount, King Hezekiah used all the silver stored in the temple of the Lord and in the palace treasury. Hezekiah even stripped the gold from the doors of the Lord's temple and from the doorposts he had overlaid with gold, and he gave it all to the Assyrian king. Nevertheless, the king of Assyria sent his commander-in-chief, his field commander, and his chief of staff from Lachish with a huge army to confront King Hezekiah in Jerusalem. The Assyrians took up a position beside the aqueduct that feeds water into the upper pool near the road leading to the field where cloth is washed. They summoned King Hezekiah, but the king sent these officials to meet with them: Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator; Shebna, the court secretary; and Joah, son of Asaph, the royal historian. Let's see, in verse 19, it looks like Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem. Then the Assyrian king's chief of staff told them to give this message to Hezekiah: This is what the great king of Assyria says. What are you trusting in that makes you so confident? Do you think that mere words can substitute for military skill and strength? Who are you counting on that you have rebelled against me? On Egypt. If you lean on Egypt, it will be like a reed that splinters beneath your weight and pierces your hand. Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, is completely unreliable. But perhaps you will say to me, we are trusting in the Lord our God. But isn't he the one who was insulted by Hezekiah? Didn't Hezekiah tear down his shrines and altars and make everyone in Judah and Jerusalem worship only at the altar here in Jerusalem? I'll tell you what. Strike a bargain with my master, the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses if you can find that many men to ride on them. With your tiny army, how can you think of challenging even the weakest contingent of my master's troops, even with the help of Egypt's chariots and charioteers? What's more, do you think we've invaded your land without the Lord's direction? The Lord himself told us, attack this land and destroy it. Verse 26. Then Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, Shebna, and Joah said to the Assyrian chief of staff, Please speak to us in Aramaic, for we understand it well. Don't speak in Hebrew, for the people on the wall will hear. But Sennacherib's chief of staff replied, Do you think my master sent this message only to you and your master? He wants all the people to hear it. For when we put this city under siege, they will suffer along with you. They will be so hungry and thirsty that they will eat their own dung and drink their own urine. Then the chief of staff stood and shouted in Hebrew to the people on the wall, Listen to this message from the great king of Assyria. This is what the king says. Don't let Hezekiah deceive you. He will never be able to rescue you from my power. Don't let him fool you into trusting in the Lord by saying, the Lord will surely rescue us. This city will never fall into the hands of the Assyrian king. Don't listen to Hezekiah. These are the terms the king of Assyria is offering. Make peace with me. Open the gates and come out. Then each of you can continue eating from your own grapevine and fig tree and drinking from your own well. Then I will arrange to take you to another land like this one, a land of grain and new wine, bread and vineyards, olive groves and honey. Choose life instead of death. Don't listen to Hezekiah when he tries to mislead you by saying, the Lord will rescue us. Have the gods of any other nations ever saved their people from the king of Assyria? What happened to the gods of Hamath and Arpad? And what about the gods of Shepharvaim, Hena, and Eva? Did any god rescue Samaria from my power? What god of any nation has ever been able to save its people from my power? So what makes you think that the Lord can rescue Jerusalem from me? But the people were silent and did not utter a word because Hezekiah had commanded them, do not answer him. Then Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, Shebna, the court secretary, and Joah, son of Asaph, the royal historian, went back to Hezekiah. They tore their clothes in despair, and they went in to see the king and told him what the Assyrian chief of the staff had said. And that is the reading for today, ladies and gentlemen. That has been 2 Kings chapters. Hold on now. Did I read ahead? I think I read ahead. That was 15, 16, and 17 with a preview of 18. I went too far. I read too far. So that was chapters 15, 16, and 17. 18. And that is all for today. And we're right at the hour. Eeks. Oh well, I guess I got a little too involved with the story there. For those of you watching this as a replay on my channel, Boulevard 40, check it out at YouTube, #BLVD40. Make sure you let me know what you think about the reading and what happened and your questions and comments and insights in the comments section. Let's start a discussion. Because the more I do this, the more I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying reading the Bible. I didn't think I'd have this much fun. I didn't think it would be this interesting. Yes, there are some boring parts, but you really do have to read it all together in order for, the whole thing to make sense. So I'm happy. I'm happy that I made this New Year's resolution and I'm resolved. I'm resolved to do it. Yes, yes, yes. As a matter of fact, last night while I was at work, I actually took some notes that sparked an idea for yet another book. So I'm kind of working on like 4 or 5 books right now. The Tuber World, which will be published. I'm claiming it in the Lord's name. Tuber World will be published this year, but I've got like, plus including the one that I got last night, I've got quite a few. Yeah, who would have thunk? Who'd have thunk that the Bible would inspire me to write a book? Yeah, probably. Hmm, maybe, probably, definitely, definitely. And where's my other ones? Man, I got a lot of Google notes. I got like 4 or 5 books that if I really, really dug down, I could probably publish all of them this year. I must have renamed one of them because I don't see one of them in here. Maybe it's an untitled document. Cool, so cool, so cool. Yeah. That is why I encourage everyone. You know what? I still encourage you to read the Bible, but if you don't have a Bible at hand, or if you're, for whatever reason, you don't want to read the Bible, get a Bible dictionary because it's still breaking it down It's still breaking down the who, the where, the what, and the how. Um, and then maybe when you do decide to start reading the Bible, it will give you some deeper insight. But yeah, read the Bible, read the Bible, read the Bible. Outro prayer time. Can't wait. I can't wait too. I'm like I think that would be this. I feel like I was born to do so many things. I was born to act. I was born to speak. I was born to write. I'm really a creative person. So yeah, I really think I was born to write something, and it makes me really excited to think that wow, I'm gonna be a published author. Yes, yes. I just gotta just keep plucking at it. Keep plucking at it. All right. Outro time. Outro prayer time. I am so happy for today. Lord, thank you. It is Friday. They say TGIF, and so I'm a T. They say TGIF. They say thank God it's Friday. So God, it's Friday. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I still have one more night to work, but I'm so thankful for the strength that I've been given to make it back to work, to stay up all night and work the midnight shift, which is tough. It is tough. And yet and still make it here to read my Bible as I said I would and log on to this world wide web, which is the internet, and speak the word out into the interwebs. Even though it's not at the place that I want it to be, it's still here where anybody wanting to find it can find it. And I just need to trust in the Lord that the people that need to hear it are hearing it, and the people who need to find it at some point will find it. Thankful for the ability to even do this in the comfort and safety of my own home, where I'm not persecuted for reading the Bible, and I'm not. Uh, I'm getting some obstacles and some challenges in the way, but nothing is stopping me from doing it. I just need to persevere, and so that's that's strengthening me even more. I'm frustrated at times, but in the end, I'm strengthened and I'm getting more resolve and more resilience, and that's all that matters. Lord, I pray that the people listening to this do get inspired to read the Bible in their own time so they can come to their own understanding, so they can build their own relationship with you and build their faith and find their purpose in you. That is my prayer. Amen. Amen. Yeah. I am so tired. Ooh. But at the same time, I want to stay up, but I know that I shouldn't, but I want to stay up. Because now that I'm talking about this book, I want to spend a couple of hours on my Google document that I've been tickety tack, building up. But yeah. You guys, thank you so much. Share me out if you can. Follow me at Boulevard 40 at YouTube. And leave a like here on Facebook. Leave a like here on YouTube. Wherever you're following me, wherever you're watching me, let the powers that be know that I'm doing a good job by liking, hearting, sharing, commenting, whatever you got to do. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Yep.